in preparation for the launch of our new program, Defense Against Dark Arts, I've been sharing some experiences that I've had in my life over the years. And one in particular stands out. The very first time I witnessed possession of a human being possessed by a negative entity happened to me about 35 years ago. I was about 25 years old at the time. I had a big group of friends, and one Saturday night, I think it was, we were chilling out at Billy's house, and there was about 12 of us there. And it was a fairly stormy night. The wind was murmuring through the trees, quite spooky outside, fitting for what was about to happen. Now, Billy had a brother, Kevin, and they were both fairly recent born-again Christians, Pentecostalists, I think they were, and they were very passionate about it. Now, we had another set of brothers there. There was Tony, Nigel, and Bob. I think there were 3 brothers. And Bob was really intoxicated. He'd been drinking way too much, and he was sitting on the couch torturing us with his guitar playing. And I remember Bob had recently been complaining of poltergeist activity at his house, and something about the couch. A couple of times a week, the couch would slide from one side of the room to the other, and they couldn't figure it out, and other weird things happening there. Now, his brother Nigel was a jockey, super fit, teetotal, didn't drink, and he'd called in recently, and he was sitting at the table marking the racing guide for the next day. And the other brother, Tony, was just listening to music with his girlfriend. And I was there, and I had my right hand bandaged up. It was painfully swollen. I had stitches in it because I'd been, a few days earlier, I'd been stabbed with a stingray. I got a stingray barb stuck in my hand, and painful. And it started out with about 11 o'clock at night, and Bob, who gave up on the guitar, and he was like acting really strangely, and he called out for help, incoherently saying, "Help, help, something's got me," and he fell to the floor and started convulsing and babbling. Now, that's bad enough, but the weird thing about this, at exactly the same time, his brother Nigel, the jockey from the other side of the room there, also fell off simultaneously onto the ground and also started convulsing and babbling on the floor. There was a bit of vomiting and stuff, and this continued, and we were like in shock. What's going on with these two guys? And my 2 friends, because it looked like they were possessed or something there, sprang into action, and they got their Bibles and their crosses and their holy water, and there was many loud "Get behind me, Satan," and splashing with holy water, and this went on for about 30 minutes, and reciting prayers, and one of the brothers started speaking in tongues and commanding the demons to leave, and whatever they were. And this went on about 30 minutes. This had been going on for, and these guys were still moaning and babbling in something that wasn't English, and convulsing and twitching. And I had an idea popped into my head. Now, for a few years now, I'd been practicing meditation, altered state meditation, and I'd been running a healing center, and I'd found that putting myself into a deep altered state before a healing session made the healing much more powerful, and it felt like something really big came over me. And I thought, maybe if I did that, maybe what would come over me would be able to help these two poor guys, because we didn't know what to do. And we were all scared because it was a really scary thing to happen. And so I told them quickly what I was going to do, and I sat in a recliner and closed my eyes. Now, at that time, it normally took me a good 30 minutes to get into a solid level of trance, an altered state of consciousness. But this time, as soon as I closed my eyes and cleared my mind, I fell into an altered state in probably 15 seconds, into a deep altered state. And I felt myself this continual falling sensation, and I felt this big presence come over me. And the last thing I remember was raising my right hand, the bandaged one. And I came back to consciousness about 30 minutes later, and all of my friends were kneeling down in front of me, smiling beatifically up at me. And Nigel, the jockey, was gripping my hand, the bandaged hand, so tightly he'd broken a couple of stitches, and my hand was bleeding, and it really hurt. Amazing, I didn't feel this before. And I was perplexed as what had happened, but I'm happy to see them there. Everybody looked okay, even the two brothers who were possessed at that time. And I asked them individually and collectively, I said, well, what happened? They said, well, you sat down and then you raised your hand, and then this beautiful deep voice, it wasn't yours, said, stop. And they both stopped convulsing at the same time and sat up wondering what had happened. They had no idea, no memory of it happening at all. And then you spoke to us for about 20 minutes or so. And they said it was wonderful, it was riveting. And I said, what did I say? And nobody remembered, apart from saying, I don't know what it was, but it was wonderful. It was like really important, but nobody remembered what I'd said. And the house now had this beautiful, loving atmosphere in it. Everybody was happy. It felt nice. Whereas before it was a bit tense, the atmosphere, for some reason. But and that was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. And it was quite a shock, because before then I'd had patients coming to me for healing with telling me about this sort of thing, and demonic possession and stuff that they'd experienced, and other entity problems. But I didn't have any personal experience with that, so I couldn't connect with it. But I considered them, well, maybe they're mentally ill or delusional or something, and that's a sickness, so I can give you healing for that. I didn't say that, but I would just be nice and give them the healing. Now, just to finish this story off, the two brothers out of three brothers, one brother was not affected at all. But a couple of weeks later, we were at the same house, and we're going to go out to the Sunday session, which is a Sunday afternoon session at the local pub. We're going to have something to eat and lots of beer there, as you did when you were young. But Tony, the third brother, wasn't feeling well. He hadn't been drinking because he had a stomach bug of some kind. So he stayed back watching TV and laying on the couch, and we went out for a few hours, and we came back about probably 9 o'clock at night. And to the weirdest thing, which we still can't explain to this day, Tony was curled up in the corner of the room in a ball, moaning. And every stick of furniture in that room was on top of him, including a gigantic heavy couch, two very heavy armchairs, the kitchen table, all the chairs, coffee tables, the works, lamps were piled up on top of him. And we was wondering what the hell happened. It looked like a cyclone went through the house. And it took us a while to get all this stuff off of him. It was all kind of interconnected. And we finally got him out, and we couldn't make any sense out of him. He was like couldn't stand, and he was moaning. And I thought about doing the thing I'd done the week before, because we didn't know if if he was just ill and we should take him to the hospital. We were very concerned about him. But an idea came into my head, as it does sometimes. A little light bulb goes off. And I thought, I know, let's put him in the shower. And I got a couple of guys to help me. We carried him, clothes and all, into the shower, and it was winter time, so the water was cold, and put him into the shower and turned the water on. A few seconds after we turned the water on, he woke up and he was wide awake and said he felt fine. But we held him under there forcibly for another minute just to make sure, and he was like shivering with cold. That he wasn't a very heavy guy. And after that, he was fine. He wasn't feeling sick anymore. He was lucid. He hadn't been drinking, or nobody there took drugs of any kind in those days. Beer was about the nearest we got to it. And but he couldn't explain it. He had no memory whatsoever of why he would be. He didn't believe us that he was in the corner of the room with all the furniture on top of him. Because in the meantime, the rest of our group, again about 12 of us, had put all the furniture back where it belonged and tidied up. So, to him, we're making it up, just trying to scare him. But that was the first experiences with possession in my life. And, this sort of thing does happen.